In that held decision, it was kind of like we had, I'm gonna say something a little spicy, a bunch of little Greta Thunbergs.
Ready, set, showtime. Welcome to the Montana Majority Report. Quick, transparent, and informative. Get the inside scoop on policies, people, and decisions shaping our state, all in less time than it takes to pour your morning coffee. Stay tuned, Montana starts right here.
We have Wylie Galt here. He's the former speaker and a wealth of knowledge. Wylie, could you tell us a little bit about your district?
Yeah, it's a pretty big district, just south of Great Falls, down to just outside Three Forks, all the way to just outside Lewistown, and then down to Big Timber.
Yeah, my district's literally the middle part of the state if you look on the house map, so you already know this. But yeah, let's talk a little bit about water. I know that's a huge issue in our neck of the woods. Obviously, you're a rancher. I'm a farrier by trade, horseshoer, to those who don't know. But I get to work with ranchers all day, every day, and you actually ranch. So let's hear a little bit about some water issues.
Yeah, as you know, we can always start with what you hear multiple times across this capital is water's for fighting and whiskey's for drinking. And it's been, well, since I started in 2013, the fight you hear every session, no matter what, is an exempt well bill. So that you have agriculture on one side, developers on the other. And this last interim, so the governor put together a water working group, kind of tried to get everyone together to find the middle ground. And at the moment, I'm going to be carrying the bill. We're have most people on board at the moment, but the legislative process still has to happen to it.
I'll back you up a little bit. So layman's terms for people, what exactly is is an exempt well?
Well,
so explain it to the general public.
Yeah, it kind of follows its name. So you get a puncher well, there's a certain amount of quantity of water you can take with it, but you're exempted from the permitting process with it.
Okay.
It speeds it up. You know, little less time, little less money to do an exempt well. It's a tool that developers have been using for some of the subdivisions on the outskirts of town. It's a tool that agriculture uses when they need to punch a stock water well or something like that. They can get it done quickly, get it in, and get water where they need it.
Good. I mean, that's huge for our ag community then. Absolutely huge. So.
Yep, it's a tool for both communities. And then now we're just trying to find where, you know, when you're punching water, it's in certain areas, if the water's going to be connected to the surface water right. So if you start punching these in, start pulling water, are you going to affect the senior water right user at some point? You know, it's the big concern we have coming into this. So, and that's private property right. And then, you know, there's also the other side of the private property right is the right to develop. So, you know, that we don't want to take away a landowner who chooses to develop the ability to get water and do that as well.
Now, is that part of that? Is that definitions of exactly what we can and cannot do? I mean, you kind of explained a little bit of that.
Yeah, and I mean, we can really get in the weeds with it. It's very complicated. It's going to be a long hearing when we finally get to this. But, yeah, it is just, again, trying to figure out, you know, science-based. What we don't want through this is arbitrary lines that someone's drawing from what they see. I mean, we need some science behind it to figure out where we're having issues at. And, you know, a cookie cutter across this state just doesn't work. You can't have one idea that, you know, works out in eastern Montana, so it's not the same thing in western Montana.
No, a one-size-fits-all approach is the wrong way to do this.
Exactly. So, I mean, we got it as best we can without increasing, you know, a huge burden on the government to go through case by case, is kind of just try to draw out. And right now it's a map, 3 different colors, green, yellow, red. And, you know, depending on what area you're in is going to depend on your ability to do it. You know, there's going to be more monitoring in some of the areas to see, you know, what kind of connectivity we have and you know, if these exempt wells are actually pulling down some surface water right. Because, again, we do not want to affect senior water right users who are using that water.
No, absolutely. And that's a whole nother topic we talk about, too, is water right holders, senior water right holders, junior water right holders, and then there's a break between sometime in the 70s. So, like you said, it gets complicated real fast.
Yeah, the old 73 break when the water court came about finally to go through adjudication. That's another bill we're going to be working through this session that is, you know, determining the fate of the water court. When it started in the 70s, it was supposed to get through adjudication. I think they funded it for 4 years. And we keep extending it.
What are we looking at? That's what, 40, 50 years at this point now?
Yes. It's gone through 3 generations of my family having to deal with it.
I know I wasn't born yet. So.
Yeah, and so what we're getting to the end of adjudication. Now it's time to decide: do we stick with the water court or do we go somewhere else? I'm of the opinion that the water court's job was to adjudicate. When it's done, it needs to go away.
And what did we say? I think it was like 15. It was only like 15 statewide or something court cases, I think.
Yes.
Something like that.
And a lot of them right now, even in mine area, said we're dealing through the district courts already with water issues. So that's where our ditch riders, that's who they're reporting to. So, I mean, that system probably could use a little cleanup. I have heard that there's a bill to kind of clarify what's going to go through with, clarifying the district side of it. But it's not like there's going to be a huge caseload once adjudication's done that we're going to need a whole other court system just for water.
Yeah, at 15, I don't know if I think that's something we need to discuss because 15 is not a huge caseload.
Yeah. There is a lot of other subjects that the court deals with that has a lot more cases in it if they want to try to relieve the pressure off district courts with their caseload.
Okay. No, that, like I said, makes a lot of sense. And then I think we're dealing with some land board issues, I think, as well, aren't we?
Yeah. There's this interim. There was an interesting one in Clearback in, if I remember correctly, it was 17. Representative Alan Redfield brought a bill because there was some issues with DNRC trying to claim water rights on state land. If a private landowner that was leasing that state land wanted to run water over to the state land, put it in a tank, irrigate it, but take their water right and improve state land. They've been doing it for years. Then all of a sudden DNRC started claiming them that they have, a co-ownership in that water right.
Is it a junior water? Like, how does that work exactly?
I think it tagged right on with the same priority date. So, a lot of us would call that a takings.
Yeah, that's it's a little odd. And then it kind of provides some disincentive, I think, to some of the private landowners to fix fence, to improve the state land, and not at the taxpayer's expense.
Yeah. And instead, we had a case that I had to deal with personally. So this summer, I had to go up and, pull a tank off state land just to make sure that they wouldn't try to claim one of our water rights.
So, yeah, we need to come up with some fixes on that, certainly.
Yeah, it needs to be more clear. And the land board did a decision this summer that any case like that is disputed will now go in front of the land board.
Now, was that Austin Knudsen, Attorney General Austin Knudsen? Was that he kind of came up with that idea?
Yep.
Am I correct?
Yes, he was the one who spearheaded that, brought the motion, and kind of brought it in front of the land board so they can start looking at them a little closely instead of just DNRC handling it all in-house to, get a little more eyes and elected eyes on it.
Certainly. And kind of the land board, I mean, you know this, I know this, but to everybody, I mean, let's kind of explain exactly what is the land board.
The land board is our statewide elected constitutional positions all sit on the land board. And they're the ones who make the decision of buying, selling, all of our state land. So they're kind of the overseer of our state land to make sure that, we're getting the most bang for our buck out of it. Because, that's school money that's going to. So it's something that we need to keep an eye on to make sure that we're getting the most revenue out of it as possible.
And I saw some numbers. It was like close to $100 million, something along those lines, from state land that we were able to generate. So that's just what I saw.
Yeah, and it's kind of crazy. I mean, if you ever just happen to pull up Onyx and look through it, it's not just strictly ranch land. Yeah. I mean, the ranch land that ranchers are leasing, pulling hay off of and paying the state through, that's a big part of it. But, there's a couple state land chunks in the middle of town that have a building on it that, they're leasing and all of that as well.
I think, what was it, close to 5.2 or 5.5? I'm going to be off on the numbers here, but a massive amount of land like I said, again, in the middle of town, in East Montana, Western Montana, all over the place, I think.
Yeah, we are very blessed in this state between our Forest Service and state land. It is a lot of land that we have for, the public can just use anytime they want to.
And I think, just between you and I and the audience here, I think the state, we kind of managed a little bit better than the feds.
I think we do extremely well. The fire season always seems to prove that.
And I think that's another issue I think we're talking about, too. Some of these fire issues. I think, Representative Jones, I think, has a bill on some of the fire stuff going on. I think is it somewhere between 5 miles fighting fires, or I mean, you could elaborate a little bit more on
Yeah,
this.
the Good Neighbor Authority, which we passed a handful of sessions ago, and that's just kind of to help build a buffer in between private and federal land, that so we can manage timber sales and stuff like that, to have a fire barrier. So when these big forest fires, start ripping, that we can kind of get them stomped down before they start going onto private land and really causing some major damage.
And I mean, we've seen this before where it seems like the feds are kind of just watching this, like the Red Lodge fire, I want to say, or even some of the fires closer to us, where they just kind of monitored the fire and it's like, hey, we could have put this out a week earlier and we didn't. So,
And it is, and I'm part of the volunteer fire department in Martinsdale, so I've been on those Forest Service fires where we're, usually the first ones to get there, getting kicked off the fires and tell them they're under their control now. And yeah, there's a lot of work to be done there to be a little more effective, especially if we got a drought year, and when we start burning millions of acres, it becomes a very expensive problem.
no, I completely agree with you. And I think we have some MEPA stuff I think we're working on. Obviously, that is a hot button issue that we're dealing with, especially with an overzealous court system that we have.
Some people have said legislating from the bench.
Amen to
Even
that.
the dissenting argument even said that.
I think our governor was spot on with that in his State of the State. So I was excited about some of the spicy things he was saying.
Yeah, totally agree there. But yeah, now we have to find a way to be able to, have the right to do business in this state, especially in the petroleum industry that, has been paying a lot of our taxes for a long time, and funding this state to make sure that they can still do business in the state. So we have a package of bills that are going to be coming through to kind of help us get through hell, make it defensible, listen to them, understand where they're coming from, and get it to where we can get back to business as well.
Absolutely. And that held decision, it was kind of like we had, I'm gonna say something a little spicy, a bunch of little Greta Thunbergs, it seemed like.
Yeah, they could have given us a little more time leading up into this session. We didn't have much time to try to, completely digest it, figure it out, and then try to get into it. But I'm hoping in a week or two that we're going to start hearing some of those bills and start working through this a little bit.
Anything that you're working on?
The one I see is actually over in your body, the cattle committee. So I've kind of just heard about it, and I don't know if you've dug into that bill much more.
Little bit. And that's Speaker Lear's bill, I think, correct?
Yes, it is. And the main question that I keep hearing is, what do you expect from this? And I know that the main argument I hear back is that, the beef checkoff is great.
Yeah.
It's for beef.
Yeah.
So they're hoping that this dollar is going to continue to help Montana beef, to be a little more specific to us. And I mean, any rancher around here and a lot of people will say Montana has the best beef.
I'm in concurrence with that. I think we should be getting a premium for our stuff. We got the best stuff. Northern Rockies, we're getting that clean mountain air. We're getting that clean water. And again, we have a premium product in my books.
Yeah, I mean, this state is great at producing raw goods.
Absolutely. And you guys got some great beef yourself.
Yeah, and so hopefully with this, we can start getting a little more of that value add in
Absolutely.
this state, and start keeping a little more of that money in this state.
Exactly. Well, and that's the thing is we have a working legislature, I should say. So I mean, your day job, you're ranching. I mean, I've seen you're haying, and for me, like I said, I shoe horses 6 days a week. So, but now we're here.
We jokingly call it the expensive hobby. I mean, you do not get rich in this job.
No. Well, any last things you want to say?
No, I think we about got it covered, and just excited for the next 80 days.
They're going to be busy, I know for sure. So, well, thank you guys again, and God bless Montana.